CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 2, Part 9, Audio by Renee Matthew. Let's go further into the economic part of the Roman Empire. Load of fragments and shards, that is, remains of the economic culture of the Romans, were dug by the archaeologists from the underground. And these survive in Monte Testaccio in Rome, and it is said to have contained the remnants of over 50 million vessels. So this particular place is very important for having the fragments of whatever trade they carried, the Romans carried, Monte Testaccio. It was possible for the archaeologists to reconstruct the life of those times. From what? I've given 4 points there. They were able to reconstruct life from the precise shapes of these containers. They could say from the shape to which age it belonged, to which place it belonged, who used it. They were able to tell what they carried, and they were also able to tell about the clay content, about what it was made, the texture of the material used. And like that, they matched the find with clay pits throughout the Mediterranean. So whatever was found in the Mediterranean, especially the clay material, it is with the help of those materials that they made these containers. So we can tell with some confidence that Spanish olive oil, when you take an example, was commercially traded. It was a commercial enterprise that reached its peak in the years 140 to 160. It was widely used. This is Spanish olive oil, and olive oil has got a lot of health benefits. So this was used. We can tell with confidence on how they used it. Dressel 20. The Spanish olive oil of this period was mainly transported in a container called dressel. We saw a group of containers in the previous audio, which was used to transport wine and even oil. But olive oil, Spanish olive oil exclusively, was transported in a kind of container called Dressel 20, and that this is how it looked. The shape and the material with which it was made was different. So it was after the archaeologists established its form. So if the remains or fragments of Dressel 20 were widely scattered across sites in the Mediterranean, it suggested that the Spanish olive oil was widely circulated everywhere. Because if they had more fragments throughout the place, then the meaning is that they were widely used, right? So by using this evidence, there is a remains of amphorae of different kinds and their distribution maps. The general name of the container was amphorae. But whatever carried the Spanish olive oil was known as dressel. So with the help of the map, with the help of the remains, the archaeologists were able to tell and talk about these containers. Archaeologists are also able to show that Spanish producers succeeded in capturing markets for olive oil. Olive oil, the way they traded. So something will not be traded just without the promotion. So promotion was done from the Italian counterparts. Spanish people, everybody started promoting it, and that is how olive oil was widely used. How did this happen? How was Spanish olive oil promoted, and how did people started using it? This would have happened if Spanish producers supplied a better quality oil at lower price. So quality is high, but the price is less. So that is how it was promoted. In other words, the big landowners from different regions, they competed with each other because it was in demand. The Spanish olive oil was in demand, so the people from different places, they wanted to compete with each other and find out who is going to give high quality oil. It was mainly for the control of the main markets for the goods they produced, controlling the main market for the goods it produced. So, what was the success of the Spanish olive growers? It was then repeated by North African producers, the success, the way they succeeded. Because high quality oil at lower price, that was a success. So it was repeated by North African producers Oil estates, especially in this part of the empire, dominated production. Widespread production was happening in the olive oil estate throughout the 3rd and 4th centuries, not only in Rome but also in Africa. So African producers, because it was under the imperialism, colonial control of Rome. So after 425, the African dominance was broken by the East. Eastern people came forward, East African, in the late 5th and 6th centuries. The group was known as the Aegean, Southern Asia Minor. That was the place. So instead of North Africa now, eastern part of Africa came forward to trade Spanish olive oil. So you should understand that they use some strategies in trade. And I told you that they were competing with each other. So maybe this particular part dominated and the strategy that they used was working out. Syria and Palestine became major exporters of wine and olive oil. They started exporting and they became the most important exporters of olive oil, Syria and Palestine. And containers from Africa showed a dramatically reduced presence on Mediterranean markets. So now Africa started slowly moving away because now Syria and Palestine was on the top list and not Africa. So we could not see the African containers in the Mediterranean markets now because they were not a part of the trade now. So slowly the competition was increasing and the competition was on how well the oil was going to be sold with high quality. Okay, and people were competing for that. Now behind these movements, the prosperity of individual regions rose and fell. It was not stagnant. It was not permanent for a particular region. It was fluctuating. It was not stable. It faced instability. So how was it facing instability? What were the factors which controlled the stability of a region? It depended on how effectively these productions could be organized. When you take anything, when you take even a small piece of work, whether it is a painting, even in your life now, it depends on how you organize things. Organization is a major skill in any industry or profession. The next factor was the transportation of particular goods. The third factor was the quality of the goods. So these three factors decided the prominence of a particular region in exporting Spanish olive oil. The first one was organization. So when you write the points, you should explain a bit on it. Transportation is the second point. The third one is the quality. Now, this Roman Empire had a few regions which was reputed or famous for exceptional fertility. Some places were fertile than the others, and fertile doesn't mean the soil alone, but also the way they carried out trade and how they were successful. For example, Campania in Italy, Sicily. The second one is Fayum in Egypt. Galilee, Byzantium, which is in Tunisia. Southern Gaul, called Gallia, Narbonensis. Next one is Batica, southern part of Spain. These were all among the most densely settled or wealthiest part of the empire. Densely settled means more people were living there, and it was the wealthiest part of the empire. All these places are very important, the 5 places. Please take a note of it. The names may not be very familiar, so you need to write and practice the spellings. So who told that these places were important? It was according to the writers Strabo and Pliny. This is Pliny and this is Strabo, 2 great Roman writers. They told that these 5 places are very important for their exceptional fertility, population, and wealth. 3 factors, remember, once again, for their fertility, population, and wealth of the empire. Some more important places are there, the best kinds of wine. Now these were places which included all the goods, all the products. Everything was sold very well in these 5 places. Now specific places shall we take a look at, where only one particular product was produced by one particular place. Like the places were segregated according to the products that they produced. The first one, the best kind of wine came from Campania. Sicily and Byzantium exported large quantities of wheat to Rome. Wheat was exported, Sicily and Byzantium. Galilee was densely cultivated. Every inch of the soil has been cultivated by the inhabitants, wrote the historian Josephus. So Galilee was densely cultivated. So the historian Josephus wrote like that. And Spanish olive oil came mainly from numerous estates along the banks of the river Guadalquivir in the south of Spain. So these three places were also very important for the products that they sold. Large expanses of Roman territory were in much less advanced state. Now we saw the places that was really advanced. All these places were advanced, wealthy, known for the trade, for all these things that they traded, and also for the wealth that they had. Okay? But a large portion of the empire, you should remember that Roman Empire was really vast, it was a huge empire, but most part of it was less advanced. For example, transhumans. This is transhumans. Okay? Many of them were shepherds, they depended on the livestock. This was actually widespread in the countryside of Numidia, modern Algeria. Transhumans, that is, people were dependent on the livestock, the sheep, the pastoral kind of culture and all that. Now, these pastoral and semi-nomadic communities, this semi-nomadic statement, these words meant that people were moving from one place to another. They did not stay for a long time in one particular place. They moved from one place to another, and therefore often on the move. They usually kept on moving. They did not stay in one place. That is why it was semi-nomadic. Means, for example, they may stay in a place for 15 days. They will hitch a tent and they will have their livestock and everything. And after their requirement is finished, it is completed, they'll move from that place. That was the way they did it. And they used to carry their oven-shaped huts called Mapalia with them. So these were the huts that they carried. They used to hitch it up. Instead of the tent, it is a hut that they built. They can do it within hours maybe, and they will do that, and then they will meet their requirements and start traveling again, continue traveling again. As the Roman estates expanded in North Africa, estate means bigger portions, okay, which was actually under the hold of the wealthy people. It expanded in North Africa. The pastures of those communities were drastically reduced. They did not have any pastures. They were not able to find because of the population. And their movements were tightly regulated. They were not allowed to move. So I told you that a great part of the Roman Empire was not in an advanced state. For example, transhumans was widely in circulation. So, the Roman estates expanded in North Africa, and there were a lot of regulations on the people. They were not able to really move freely as before. So, take a look at Mapalia, these two pictures.